In the grand theater of life, we all seek a comeback, a resurgence, a rekindling of our inner fire. But how do we spark that flame? Welcome to Reignite Resilience. This is not just another podcast. This is a journey, a venture into the heart of human spirit, the power of resilience, and the art of reigniting our passions.
Well, Patty, just for the listeners that are not familiar, do you mind just quickly sharing like autism spectrum disorder? What is that? How were you introduced to it, and was it Zach that you were when you were first introduced?
Well, so I do feel very fortunate that my best friend, her son, who is the same age as my oldest daughter, so he's 26 now. So he's on the spectrum. And so, and she is incredibly smart and just so wise. And, she's been through it because she's, 15 years ahead of me on this. So that was helpful. And I actually think that's part of what clued me in more to the fact that I thought Jack might be on the spectrum. So getting advice from her is just, I can't even put a value on that. It's just been so helpful. And she has so many good ideas because she's tried it all. And she's been part of that community for such a long time. But since then, I've really tried to just educate myself on that. So probably one of the first books that I read that I thought was really helpful was it was 10 Things That Every Child with Autism Wishes You Knew. And it's by Ellen Nottbaum. And it's just a super easy read, but just so poignant. And the examples that she gave were amazing. But just thinking and being able to kind of have that insight, because you just, as a parent, you just don't know, right? You want to do everything right, but you just don't know, what can you do to help your child, be happy and not struggle and, and feel loved and all of that. And so, a couple of things that she, that said that really resonated with me in this book was that Jack is a whole child, and he is, you hear a lot of people say, oh, he's autistic, right? Well, Jack's not autistic. Jack has autism, right? So if somebody were to have cancer, they are not cancer, right? They have cancer, right? So Jack is not defined as, just an autistic child. I mean, it's part of his personality, right? And part of who he is, but it is not, by definition, all of Jack, right? Yeah. It's far from that. Right. So, and it's those little nuggets that you hear them and you're like, well, yeah, of course. But it took somebody saying that you're like, yeah, I never really thought about it that way. Right. But, because I don't want him to necessarily have that label, but I do want people to understand so that they give him grace and they understand that, his brain doesn't necessarily function the way ours do. But, I'm also, I also believe that everybody's on the autism spectrum disorder just a little bit
in some way.
Right? I mean, it's a broad spectrum, right? So, that was one of them. And then, of course, he has the sensory, so like he's super picky eater right now, which I know a lot of kids can. But I remember at his daycare, they said, well, as long as it's brown and crunchy, Jack will eat it. Can't be slimy, can't be veggies, right? So
that's very specific.
I know, right? And I know, and when they said it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of right. I mean, he'll do mac and cheese, but not a big fan of pizza, so
same.
Really? Oh, see? So you and Jack
Yes.
But so there's the sensory stuff. And then I think it's, for me, especially growing up with it's kind of boot camp growing up for me, right? With my dad being an Army colonel.
Yeah.
And he's military police on top of it. My mom was a nurse practitioner, right? So, I mean, we couldn't get away with a lot. No. So but we couldn't, and so to kind of change that, the way that you focus on that and look at, I try to distinguish between, what Jack won't do and what he can't do. Right. And so, thinking more about like, because won't is a choice, right? Or can't is an ability. And so, and a lot of that is just, like if you're further away in the room and he's really focused on something, he hears things differently than I do. So, just being closer to him when I talk to him enables him to be able to listen better because he's not having to combat, a whole bunch of other things that maybe I'm not hearing, right?
Yes.
And just little things that could be really frustrating if you hadn't really thought about it that way. So I'm just kind of going through some of the points that she put in her book, but uh one of them is like that he's a very concrete thinker, which cracks me up sometimes because like if you say it's raining cats and dogs, he has this vision of like cats and dogs falling out of the sky.
Yeah, exactly.
It's raining really hard. So and he's really come a long way in understanding all of that, and now he'll even ask me, he's like, so mom, are you being sarcastic right now?
Yes.
I can be sarcastic. So so he's he now is at that point where before he may not have understood what that sarcasm is, where now, he is to the point where he's really starting to kind of read between the lines on things like that. And then some other stuff that she said is like, really focusing on what he can do rather than what he can't do.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people, like, you get an IEP and it's a pretty intense evaluation that they go through, and they measure all of these interactions that they have at school and how they perform against that. And they'll say, oh, well, he did this, 3 out of 4 times, or, didn't do it at all, or it was 1 out of 4. And it's really kind of a little bit of a gut punch when you sit down through those IEP evaluations, and
Yeah.
you feel like, oh my gosh, how's my son ever going to make it, and, but really focusing more on what he can do, and how, like for Jack, it's how creative he is and how funny he is. He has a really funny sense of humor, and he's very outgoing uh, for having fear of, not necessarily being able to interact with friends, or, how to start conversations, but he loves making people laugh. And Pam, I don't know if you remember this, but when I was CFO at the real estate company, and I would get up at the sales meeting every Tuesday morning and give my finance update. And we had a snow day, or it was a 2-hour delay. And so I'm up in front of this, 200-300 people with a microphone. And he thought that was amazing, right? And so I could see him in my periphery because he's sitting at the front right next to where I was sitting. And he has his hand up like he's in class, right? And he wants to ask a question. And I'm just like, there is no way that I am acknowledging.
Yes.
And right
You're
now,
like,
right? I don't know
trying
where
to eye and mouth, put your hand down while just
right. And I'm purposely trying to ignore him. And then finally I finished what I had to say, and asked the president if I could, answer Jack's question.
Next question, yeah.
And so he wanted to tell a joke. So do you remember that, Pam? And then he got the mic, and once he got the mic, and then everybody laughed, and even the people on Zoom were like, who's this Jack person?
Yes.
Right. And then after that, he wanted to come to every Tuesday meeting, and he wanted the mic. And I'm like, no, I can never on a 2-hour late snow day. I can't, because he's gonna like take over this meeting.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
It's going to be more than a joke. It's going to be an entire show by the time it's all said and done.
Exactly. And he didn't understand. I'm like, no, put your hand down. But he doesn't, he's like, oh, no, I'm talking. I'm doing this. Yeah, I have my question.
I'm next. Yeah.
But, really kind of focusing and rewarding that positive behavior instead of focusing on, why can't you do this? Why couldn't you be more like this? And and I remember that growing up, especially being a twin, right? Especially remember my dad comparing my sister and I, saying, why can't you be more like Pam? And to her, she'd be like, why can't you be more like Patty? Well, because we're 2 different people. But
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so I try very consciously to, to not do that with Jack. But
what a blessing to not only have a friend that was going through it, because there's a lot of people that don't have any resources, don't have anybody that they can talk to about it. And it's really hard for other parents to empathize or understand what it is to have a child that has some sort of a challenge. And so that's a beautiful thing that you had that. And I agree with you. Him being born in this day and age with so many resources. Think about parents, 15 years ago, it's like 20 years ago, that didn't know. And
well, yeah, I mean, he would have been like the bad kid, right? Or the kid that
Right.
misbehaved. And what I really appreciate too, especially with being in the school district that we're in, is they call it integrated services.
Yeah.
And that's very intentional because they try to integrate him in the normal classroom as much as possible. Because I don't want him to have to go to a special room, right? Where he is isolated, and because the best thing he can do is be in the regular classroom, be with his friends, and learn how to be in that environment. And today I just looked up, like how many kiddos are born on the spectrum today. And the most recent study says that there's 1 in every 68 children
Wow.
born on the spectrum. And if you think about, I mean, that's a high number.
Yeah.
And I don't know necessarily if it's increased over time. I didn't get that type of research, but my guess is from the time that I was in 6th grade compared to today, that number is probably higher.
Yeah.
But thankful that there's so many resources that are around it.
Yeah, and that they're now tracking it, because I don't think they knew how to diagnose it probably back in the day.
Right.
1 in every 3 classrooms is basically what you're looking at. If you're looking at 1 in 68 children, so 1 in every 3 classrooms, someone's on the spectrum. Yeah.
On a normal size classroom, right?
And yes, we'll say traditional size classroom.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly where.
That's it. The traditional size.
Too. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to hear like your life lessons from Jack, because I think that it's like you hear these things, these experiences. And it's for you, it was school delay. I've got to just take you to the office. We're going to go through this meeting, get you back to school. And then you were given an opportunity to stay in that space and be present and allow him to be expressive and still participate in your day. And now, granted, not every child's going to have that opportunity every day. But what a great experience for him and for everyone that was there that was able to hear the joke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about before we started the show too, that, he's now asked me to buy a theater. And I just think about, right, what would that be like with the
yes.
microphone, right?
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah.
Are you not building a stage in the house yet? No?
Yet.
Okay.
I put in a home theater. I don't know if that's going to check his box for having a stage or not.
No, it's not. There better be a raised partition and a microphone at the front. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
A YouTube channel, so it's like just have him start doing some stand-up act. I think.
Well, my oldest daughter is amazingly talented at singing. She has a beautiful voice, and she'll go do open mic, and sing beautifully. And she was kind of in the circuit up in Breckenridge and would sing up there. So I don't know, maybe he'll become my stand-up comedian.
Yes,
I think there's a future there.
I could see
a family of entertainers. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Patty, I know that you had these 2 takeaways from the book, and I don't want us to miss them, because one thing that you touched on, just that you learned from a parenting standpoint, is that the child is not defined by whatever it is. And so, we reference to that as like the people first language, like the person first, like talking about the person and then whatever it is. So a child with autism, not that he's autistic and that's all defining and all encompassing of who they are. And I think that's important for the listeners as well. Just if you're not in that space and you have not encountered anyone that has a child with autism or any type of different ability, make sure that, as you're having conversations with individuals, that you're putting the people first and not whatever the different ability may be. But the other thing that you said is huge. It's what are the things that you won't do and what are the things that you can't do? Because I think that applies to everyone. And as you were saying it, I was like, oh, I can't jump out of a plane. And then I was like, well, no, I can. I just won't. And so it's different. So I just need to change that language. I can do it. I don't want to.
Right.
So
I'm
that's
pretty sure I can't run a marathon.
I can.
I guess I could.
But I won't.
It's more than the 162 days that Pam said in one of her posts.
the best sign holder though, and encourager.
Yes.
Absolutely. That was so much fun.
Best
I,
sign.
I
I
cheered
am.
him on during one of her half marathons.
Yes, exactly. I've heard all about it. I am there. I sign me up. If anyone's out there running a race, sign us up. We will bring snacks and signs.
What did you say? Because we have had a guest on here who is running a half marathon in all 50 states. Her last one will be in Napa in 2025.
Oh,
So I
Yes.
said I would run it with her. And
yay.
she said I'm not running, but I'll be there with the meat sticks and donuts, and I'm counting on that. And
I
so,
am.
Patty,
Yes.
I'll be there with the signs, Natalie.
Exactly. Yes.
And it was so much fun, actually, because it was Beth and I that we had to map out like all the cross
They're the
points where
best.
you could go and make sure you beat the runners to get
Yes.
there, right? And hold up the sign just at the right time. And I
The
think that
timing, the parking, the location. It's a big deal. Like being a sign holder is a big deal.
and not knowing, the area that you're in necessarily and where the roads are going to be blocked. We had
It
so
Yeah.
much fun with that. I'm
It
like, oh
didn't
man, I
take-
hope we didn't miss them.
didn't take
Oh, yeah.
much to beat us to where we.
I don't know. You guys did great. You did amazing.
Oh my
Patty,
God.
the professional sign holder. There we go.
Right. I have so many skills.
They were the
Yes.
only sign holders. That's what was so
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, really? I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
you guys were the only ones there, and the smiles from all the other runners that saw you guys there encouraging us was worth every penny. It was so cool because nobody expected it, and then there they are, toenails for losers.
Toenails are for losers. That was one of my favorites.
Ever.
I love it.
Humpty Dumpty hit a wall too.
Yeah. So good. Patty, so tell us just a little bit, because I'm a single mom, and it's kind of one of those things. I don't know that people understand how hard it is to be a single mom and to have a career supporting your family, but then layer in a child that has a disability. I mean, that's resilience, and it's not that you're a mom that's involved in the community, very much involved in Jack's education in his life and your career. And I'd just love for you to touch a little bit on that.
I feel like your happiness is a choice. And I've definitely run at 110 miles an hour all the time. And that's definitely, I've always been like that. I mean, since I was in high school, but I want the best for all of my kids, and I want to be involved. And I don't want to look back and be, I don't want to look back and be like, oh man, and there's a lot of deadlines, and there's always so much work to do, and it's very important.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to miss out on those important moments. And it goes back to, where my goals are, and, it's providing that life. But I also want to set an example for my kiddos, just like my parents did for me, of giving back to the community and helping make a difference in that. Because I can tell you, the service respite care provides for this community in Larimer County and soon to be Weld County is second to none. And to be able to help that organization provide that service in whatever capacity it is. Even when I was back, I was president of the Niawat Education Foundation when I lived down in Longmont. And even then I would say, I'm like, figure out what your passion is and then give back in that way. So it's and I want, and I know my kids can sense that passion in me to be able to do that. It's setting the example, and it's giving back to the community, and it's not missing those really important moments, right? Because I always know where my priorities are, and I try as hard as I possibly can to make sure that I'm where I need to be at that time, no matter what it is. And sometimes you have conflicting priorities, and you have to make a choice, and that's really hard, and I don't like that. So to maybe get ahead of one so that I can be at both. I mean, and then just not sleep. So, but I don't want to miss out. It's that whole, the fear of missing out. But it's also, life is short. And I think when my dad passed away he passed away at the very beginning of the pandemic, not from COVID, but, he was 97, World War II vet, had an amazing military career. and my twin sister and I mean, he was 48 when Pam and I were born. That was crazy. Like my kids' grandparents were the same age as my dad, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Yeah.
but he was, I mean, honestly, he could have beat every one of them at a arm wrestling match, and probably could have beat him in the a mile run too. But and he was so plugged in. He was president of the PTA. I used to show horses, and I mean, every Saturday we were out there, at the arena competing, and he was just so plugged in. And I have so many fond memories of that. And he just lived such a good life.
Yeah.
And I want to live a life like that, and I want my kids to see that I lived a life like that, and I hope they inspire the same thing, right? But it's all about choice, and it's not going to be given to you. You have to go after it, no matter what happens to you, right? And I think that's resilience.
Absolutely. I'm reading a book right now. It's called Becoming a Coaching Leader. And this company coaches people in top leadership positions to be able to coach the people under them. And he said the very first thing that they go through with everyone is having the person do a life plan. And a lot of these execs are like, oh, what do I need a life plan? And they said it's something that's required. And if they won't do it, we won't coach them. And it's like in 8 hours, you go somewhere and you literally create a plan for your life. And it's every aspect of your life. And that life plan becomes your priorities, and the business is plugged in there. And it's exactly what you've done. You know what the life that you want, and you've created the priorities and filled everything in kind of around it. And it leads for it, it becomes that balanced life that people are looking for. Yeah, you're running at 150 miles an hour, but you're living your best life. And,
right.
And you'll have no regrets.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm super uncomfortable in downtime.
Oh, I am too. I'm just like, I should do it.
This is like 10 minutes that I could have scheduled.
Exactly. You just start another business. That's what we typically do.
You should write a book. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. So what's next for you, Patty? What do you have on the horizon? I know that you're still doing a tremendous amount of work from the philanthropic side and invested you're 8 years away from being an empty nester. So you got a little bit of time yet.
7, actually 7.
7 years from that. What's on the horizon for you?
Honestly, I feel like I'm I'm in a little bit of, I'm going to call it opportunity, but a little bit of limbo. I'm trying to really make some decisions on, because I feel like for my, my life and my goals, I'm looking at, probably 6-7 years more of like the typical 9 to 5, 8 to 5 plus weekends, type of a role, plus the volunteer work that I do. But, I really want to crush it those last few years, and just figuring out where I can, because leaving the CFO role I had was necessary for me, for sure, definitely my choice. But some of the things I guess that surprised me a little bit were, just like how much I would miss my friends. And there were so many amazing people that I worked with, and I do keep in touch with a lot of them, probably half of the ones that I wish I would. I wish I had more hours in the day to do that, but just the social side and keeping up with people. But I genuinely cared about so many people. And what was really, so I listened to Mel Robbins' podcast a couple weeks ago, and she was talking about kind of that fear of those lost friendships. And what I really resonated, which I loved, and she said, change your mindset, because there are people in your life that need you. And some of your favorite people in your life you haven't even met yet. Right? And I love that, right? Because I feel like I'm, I still have seasons, that are unwritten, and I don't know what they are yet, but I do have a goal, of, 6 years or so, 6-7 years from now, of, stopping the 9 to 5 type thing, probably doing some consulting. I can't see myself not working at all. really want to live in Italy for at least 3 months out of the year. So I think
Um,
Pam knows this about me. I think we've talked about this, but
Yeah.
I've definitely set a life goal of being able to do that. Especially, I've got my master's in international business with a hope of being an
Yeah.
expat, and that didn't really happen. And at that time, you kind of joke, and you're like, oh, I'll do that in retirement. But no, I'm serious. I'm going to do that in retirement.
Yes. Good. I
Who
love
knows what
that.
doors that's going to open, and
Yeah.
just to experience other culture and another country. And I love to travel. I love to travel with Pam and you, Natalie. You and
Yeah.
so
We have. Yeah.
Just put
so
this
I
little nugget
just
out there for you.
what
Let me put this little nugget out there for you. So I just heard that Tuscany is doing something right now because they've lost a lot of people have left, that they want people to come there. So if you go and buy a place there in certain villages, the country will give you 35,000 euro to remodel a historic place. But you have to make it your primary residence for 10 years. Oh, shoot, darn. Wouldn't that just be horrible?
that would be such a
There you
bummer.
go. There's
Well,
Yeah.
and coming from the real estate background, I've of course run the numbers. I'm like, okay, so I need to buy a piece of property over there.
Yes.
I'm going to rent it out when I'm not there, and that's going to cover the cost, so it doesn't cost me anything when I'm there.
Yes. That's right. That's it.
or very little, definitely less than if I were just renting. So, and of course, since my twin sister is an amazing interior designer, I'll just have to bring her with me, and then she can use those euros and make it look amazing.
Love that. Love that.
So, yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I have like bright ambitions, but I can say that I am very, very focused on Jack's going to start 6th grade. Brand, this is a big experience. This is a big shift because he's been at the same school since kindergarten. So I'm very focused on helping him with that transition, helping him be really successful in that, and whatever that means for his future, right? If it's you probably college, but who knows, right? I mean, he's already really talented with his YouTube channel and building
I love it.
computer programs. I can absolutely see him pursuing that path. So I think, in the short term, which, I would say next 5 years, short term, is I think I'll kind of pivot and focus a little bit more on that.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to focus on me. So
Good.
I'm going to, so that's, that's what I'm all about the vision boards and, setting those type of goals and, but I really want to live internationally and kind of experience another culture. So we'll see what happens with that.
We'll have
Love
that.
it.
I'll
I
live
love
in
that.
the country so that we can just,
Well, that's what I think. I think all of my friends need to buy a house in a different
there we go.
locale that we all
And we'll
love.
go and visit one another.
And
Yes.
we're just gonna house hop,
We'll do
Yes.
sharing.
right?
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah. So we just need to spend an 8-hour day away creating our life plan that has visualization in it and all sorts of stuff.
I am all in. You
I
guys would be amazing at leading that. So
Well, I was going to say, I have a life book. I've actually gone through the process.
Have you?
I've done it. I have
Oh,
one.
love it.
Yes, but I have not pulled it out in some time. So now I'd
Oh.
love to, just because life happens, right? And so I'd love to just reflect on it. Yeah.
So it's so amazing when you focus on something, right? How it just happens, right?
Yes.
I'm always amazed at that with my vision boards, that I'm like, wow,
Every
look at
time.
all the things I've accomplished.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. I think I did my life book 2021, 22 timeframe. So, when we all were given the opportunity to take some downtime, I created that.
I love it.
Oh my
That's
gosh. I love that. I love that. Well, Patty, it has been an absolute pleasure. We're so excited that you were able to join us on the show, and just giving us some insight into the professional side of life and what it looks like, what it feels like to be this fabulous financial exec, and being a single mom and raising 3 amazing kids that have the choice to do whatever they want. The sky's the limit. And I think that applies for all 3 of your kids. It sounds like you're instilling that in all 3 of them.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This has been such a joy. I listened to your podcast, and I am sure I'm driving in my car with huge smiles on my face because you guys make me laugh so much. But to be able to spend the afternoon with you and talk to you and be invited on, I'm just truly honored.
I tell
my
Natalie
gosh.
that I see my dad walk in front of my office and I just see him laughing. I'm like, oh, he's listening to us.
Yep.
Yes.
I love it. It just makes my whole day.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to have you back and it will be from your home in Tuscany. And
Perfect. I love that.
yeah, we'll check in with you, and you can share with us what it's like to live abroad.
Yep. You guys should come over and we'll do it.
I was going to say, absolutely not. It will be a live episode from Tuscany. I don't know what Pam's doing, but I'll be there.
All right. So we're going to put that'll go on our life plan.
That's it. Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love it.
I'm in Mexico, so we're already international. So let's do it. Yeah, that's our first episode was recorded in Mexico.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
And our intro was recorded in Mexico, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
I knew the
where it all
pictures
started.
were from when you were in Mexico.
Yeah.
So,
That was an experience.
great.
I love it.
That's
Oh my
fantastic.
gosh. Well, Patty, thank you. Thank you. We're so grateful for you, grateful for the nuggets. Oh my gosh. So many ahas and takeaways. And thank you for sharing your personal story with our listeners. We are tremendously grateful for that as well. For our listeners, if you're wanting to stay in touch and learn more about what's happening in the world of Reignite Resilience with Pam and I, make sure that you head over to reigniteresilience.com, or you can find us on both Facebook and Instagram, where you can hear about upcoming events, happenings, where we are in the world. Maybe we're heading out to Tuscany to visit with Patty. Who knows? But keep tabs on us online, Facebook, Instagram, or reigniteresilience.com. We'll see you all soon. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Reignite Resilience. We hope that you had amazing ahas and takeaways. Remember to subscribe on your favorite streaming platform, like it and download the upcoming episodes. And if you know anyone in your life that is looking to continue to ignite their resilience, share it with them. We look forward to seeing you on our future episodes. And until then, continue to reignite that fire within your hearts.